As I was walking in earlier this morning, a couple of very kind-hearted people said, "Hi Steve, we're looking forward to your presentation." Those of you who've heard me present will be immensely relieved to know that I'm not presenting. Instead, I'm just giving a 30-second introduction to the main presentation. And that is over the last couple of years, we at Nielsen, like I think everyone in the room, has watched with great interest at the tremendous growth of use of connected devices, penetration of connected devices, and within that, the tremendous growth in particular of Roku. So with that in mind, in March last year, 2015, we partnered with Roku to start to develop a set of measurement techniques and metrics around connected devices. And it's a great pleasure today to introduce two speakers who are going to take you through the launch next month in full scale of digital ad ratings for connected devices. Those two speakers are Scott Rosenberg, who runs the ad business at Roku, and Kelly Abcarian, who leads the audience measurement products at Nielsen. So please put your hands together and welcome Scott and Kelly.
Good morning. I want to thank Nielsen and the ARF for inviting Roku to participate this morning. It's something of an artifact that I now as the leader of an ad sales team, I often find myself uninvited from research-related conferences, which hurts my feelings. I started my career in a research lab, so it's a pleasure to be here this morning. I'm going to walk you through what we see happening in the OTT landscape from the perspective of Roku, and then Kelly's going to share some research, very recent research from our collaboration looking at co-viewing in OTT. How many people stream today? I expect all hands to come up. Okay, keep your hand up if you stream a majority of your TV viewing. You're researchers, you have to be honest, it's okay. Okay, and how many of you have children under the age of 25? And how many of those children spend a majority of their TV viewing streaming? Yeah, okay. TV landscape is changing very dramatically. This is a sampling of apps on the Roku platform. And while I won't do it here, we could walk each of these tiles, both the traditional media brands that you'd recognize, as well as the new ones like a TED or a Vivo, and we could talk about how their experience in OTT fundamentally represents a change in the way consumers want to watch TV. Gail and Mark said it very aptly. We've moved into a world where consumers want to watch TV when they want, where they want. And OTT, in many ways, is making that a reality. Roku as a company was founded on a very simple idea, the belief being that all TV will be streamed. Now, depending on the audience, we sometimes face resistance when we say that. People say, well, what about sports, or what about live events, or isn't it uneconomical to stream all television? And the answer is maybe right now, maybe it's more economical to stream a live event, but the consumer wins. Consumers have spoken. They're going to watch TV when they want. And in fact, they're going to watch live TV streamed over the top as well. Roku just this year streamed the Super Bowl, for example, with CBS. One interesting artifact of all TV being streamed is it also means that all ads will be streamed. And this has very profound implications for the plumbing by which ads are delivered to consumers in a TV ad experience. We also believe that TVs are going to go the way of the flip phone to smartphone transition. And so in much the same way that you can increasingly no longer find a basic flip phone, you buy a smartphone with an OS, TVs are going to go the same way. Every TV is going to ultimately ship with an operating system. And it's our goal at Roku to be that operating system. Most people know us as a retail brand, where you go down to Best Buy, Walmart, Target, and you buy yourself a streaming device. There are two other ways that we also reach consumers. we embed into televisions. All TV manufacturers over the next couple of years are going to get an operating system, and increasingly the TV manufacturers have recognized that they can't compete as software companies, and they need, in much the same way that the smartphone business has transitioned, they're going to need an operating system. The third way that we distribute is through telcos and MVPDs, who increasingly are recognizing that IP distribution is their future and have decided that they need a platform like a Roku in order to reach consumers, in order to build and deliver an app store. This is the growth we've seen on Roku, but it's emblematic of what's happening in OTT generally. We hit 5.5 billion hours of streaming in 2015. And although we stream more than any other platform in the space, including Apple and Google and Amazon, everybody in this space is experiencing growth like this. One interesting thing that's developed over the last couple of years is, many of us just a few years ago would have assumed that a majority of TV viewing would have transitioned to a small screen like your smartphone or your tablet. In fact, OTT is helping bring TV back to the TV. And so this is a freewheel chart which illustrates the growth of OTT as a digital video delivery platform. And you can see that OTT now represents 1 in 4 hours of streaming TV viewership. Desktop is still a sizable portion, but is flat year over year, and so shrinking on a relative basis. One other interesting artifact of this data is it shows the growth of the ad-supported segment in OTT. I think many folks assume that OTT is still very much about Netflix and Amazon Prime, ad-free subscription services. But on Roku, the ad-supported segment is now our fastest growing segment. What excites us most about advertising in OTT is the opportunity to do what many of us have dreamed that TV advertising could be over the next couple of years. It's the sight, sound, and motion of television combined with the brains of digital. And so at Roku, as a platform, we're working to build the capabilities of this next generation ad platform, including advanced targeting, the ability for a consumer to engage and interact with an ad, and advanced measurement. We think of our ad business as having 3 components. One component is what we call audience development. This is a sort of newfangled tune-in for those of you who work in the tuning category. This sector of TV advertising is going to be totally upended over the next couple of years. The method by which TV marketers go and get audience is changing very dramatically. And so we have a team that's focused on working with marketers at Netflix, CBS, ESPN, helping them to get downloads, to get people into their apps. We have a direct ad sales team as well. We got into the ad business for 2 reasons. One is we wanted to be part of that dramatic growth of advanced TV ad sales, but also to be in the same business as our programmers, be in market selling this new TV ad product, and to learn alongside them what it meant to sell this new form of TV advertising. And the piece that excites me the most is our platform effort. So this is an effort to take the technology that we're building as a platform, the data that we have available as an operating system, and make it available to programmers, to publishers on our platform to improve their ad sales. And that's a great transition to the section of the presentation that Kelly's going to lead. A year and a half ago, March timeframe, we struck a partnership with Nielsen to enable digital ad ratings on the platform. This flowed from a recognition that as an app-based platform, a cookieless platform, publishers of ad-supported apps on our platform didn't have very basic forms of audience measurement on our platform. And we saw an opportunity as the operating system, as the holder of registration data about our users, to do better than what we've seen happen in the mobile ecosystem. And so we've taken the step of putting a digital ad rating solution directly into the operating system of Roku. Kelly's going to talk you through the earliest results of that partnership. We're very excited. There's 2 parts to this process. One is Roku takes its registration data and syncs it in a double-blind fashion with Nielsen to enable them to score impressions on Roku against a demography. And then inside the operating system, built directly into the operating system, we do Nielsen DAR beacon manipulation so that every ad impression that flows through Roku has the opportunity to be scored against a Nielsen demographic. So with that, I'm going to introduce Kelly, who's going to talk through the early results of our collaboration.
All right, so I'm going to take you guys through a research study that we did to really look at the data that we've been collecting off of this partnership that we formed over the last 6 months. Co-viewing is not a new phenomenon. Consumers and people have been gathering around television sets and watching together in a television environment for many, many decades. But as content distribution evolves across digital and IP streaming-based devices, and those delivery platforms themselves really lend themselves to addressable audiences, it's really important that we can help understand and measure this co-viewing phenomenon. So by the end of my presentation, I hope that I'm going to be able to answer 3 critical business questions. The first question, how much co-viewing is actually happening in this OTT landscape? The second question, does co-viewing change across different demographic characteristics? And then the third question, does co-viewing change across different time periods? But before I get started, I did want to touch briefly around exactly how we put this measurement together. I'd like to start with quoting Artie Bulgren of ESPN, who said that audience measurement in a digital data world is now a team sport, meaning that cooperation and collaboration is required by media owners, distribution, and delivery platforms in which to bring together best-in-class audience measurement. I can tell you that that is completely applicable in a TV-connected device world. So what we've done with the help of Roku, as Scott mentioned, is we bring together the best, highest quality assets that Roku has with the best quality assets that Nielsen has. We know that the Roku experience itself is truly close to a TV experience. And so that by bringing together the Roku registration data, having the Nielsen technology embedded directly inside in which to collect those impressions, we then can combine that with the Nielsen television audience measurement panels that we have across the US. Today in the US, we measure across 40,000 households, over 50,000 TV-connected devices. We not only understand what that TV-connected device is, from a brand level, whether that's a Roku device, a Chromecast device, an Amazon Fire and Apple TV, or a video game console, or even if that's a set-top box or over the air. But we also, most importantly, understand the who. And that is because Nielsen collects real person's data from the home. We have people who log in and tell us exactly what they're watching on that television screen. We call that our Nielsen People Meter button-pushing data. As you can imagine, since we know what someone is watching on their Roku, the content they're actually watching, and then who they're actually watching it with, we can link together the Roku viewing behavior data with the Nielsen television audience measurement panel in which to truly understand how to take a device-level measurement to true persons-level measurement. So let me just frame up the research that we did here. Over the last 6 months, we pulled a subset of the campaigns. This is not representative of all campaigns and all impressions that have been collected across the Roku environment, but we pulled 15 OTT campaigns running across the Roku landscape. This is a period from November 2015 to May of 2016. And more importantly, we wanted to look across a variety of genres. So we looked at over 25 different genres in which to understand the co-viewing phenomenon. And based on this information, we were able to project instances of co-viewing across the entire campaign, and then use that information to adjust audience estimates for each campaign. So our first finding was that co-viewing on OTT devices such as Roku is a real phenomenon. By measuring the co-viewing using the person's level data from our Nielsen television panel, we produce significantly higher audience numbers, 34% more audience impressions than had we only used the server log data alone. As I mentioned, we're able to do this because we understand the true persons sitting behind that living room environment. When you take a look at the co-viewing across genres, you'll see that the biggest boost to the audience impressions is for children's, sporting events, and general variety. That's defined as things like reality TV, talk shows, and game shows. But you'll see that the impact of co-viewing actually exists across all genres. The way in which to read this chart is that for every 100 impressions, you can see what the actual lift in true co-viewing is. In the case of sports and general variety in children's, it's approximately 27 to 28% additional. In the case of news, it's around 19%. General drama and comedy, 24 to 23%. So now let's take a look at the behaviors behind that co-viewing. Co-viewing on Roku appears to have the largest impact on audiences during primetime day parts. We saw adding almost 32% more impressions during the primetime hours. This chart reinforces that last chart, which really talks about that more than half of the audience viewing on an OTT environment during prime time is being viewed by more than one person. So now let's look at how co-viewing exists across time periods. We see that there's a significant higher amount of co-viewing happening in the evening or after work hours than we do during the daytime. The same can be seen on the weekends versus weekdays, where weekends are slightly higher than weekdays, though not as pronounced as after hours versus daytime. So now that we've talked about how much co-viewing is going on and when they do the co-viewing, let's get to the who. Who exactly is co-viewing? So you'll see in this chart that 2 to 12-year-olds co-view the most. And as audiences get older, the rate of co-viewing starts to decline, but then flattens out. Next, when we want to overlay to understand genders, we see an interesting gender differentiation appear. And that is that among 13 to 17-year-olds, females, they have a higher likelihood of co-viewing than their male counterparts, almost by 10%. But on the other hand, we see for that the other age groups, males and females co-view at very similar rates. So we talked earlier about co-viewing being consistently higher during the evening hours across all age groups. Well, the same holds true at each individual age. Once again, you see that the trend in co-viewing shows a much higher rate for kids 2 to 17, and then as the audiences get older, it declines and plateaus off. Now let's also look at weekends and weekdays by age. The co-viewing rates across weekend and weekdays are also very similar across those age groups. Weekends do exhibit, as I mentioned earlier, slightly higher co-viewing rates, and that is true across all age groups. So now let's look at who people are co-viewing with. If you look vertically at the 2 through 12 column, you'll see that kids who are co-viewing the most, they're doing the most co-viewing with kids of the same age, 2 through 12, the 40% at the top, very left-hand corner. But they also co-view with their peers, ages 13 to 17. These are likely their siblings. And they also co-view with adults, who are likely their parents. If we take this a step further, and then we overlay into this gender, both males and females, we see that a very interesting pattern emerges. And that is that males and females of all ages do co-view, but co-viewing is most prevalent in the oldest and the youngest of these age groups. So let me put this all into context. Having partnered to build an industry-first OTT measurement system where we can deliver true persons-based measurement versus device only, Nielsen has been able to deliver a digital ad rating that is very comparable to the measurement we produce for television. Based on our analysis of these 15 OTT digital ad campaigns, we have discovered the following 3 broad bucket-based insights. The first one is that co-viewing of streaming content on television is real. It's not only real, it's meaningful and it's significant. As I mentioned, we see more than 1/3 of all OTT content being viewed by more than one person. Secondly, we also know that co-viewing is not random. What I mean by that is we can measure the actual behaviors that drive the difference in demographic characteristics, such as the females co-viewing at a much higher incident rate in teens, 13 to 17. And then lastly, co-viewing is not a nuanced phenomenon, meaning that it occurs differently across different time periods, where you see that co-viewing is higher, as one would predict, in the evening hours or after work hours. And then co-viewing on the Roku platform is highest during prime time, where more than half of all OTT co-viewing that occurs is happening by more than one person during that prime time hour. And with that, I want to turn it back to Gail, and thank you very much.